Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that can absolutely change your life. For the next 21 days, I want you to make a decision, a small decision that can create a big breakthrough. I want you to change the way you talk to yourself. That's it. Just the words you say when you wake up, the words you whisper when you are facing a challenge, and the words you declare before you go to bed. Because your life is not shaped first by what people say about you. It is shaped by what you say about yourself. Your life is shaped more by what you say to yourself than by what others say about you. People often spend their entire lives waiting for someone to validate them, waiting for compliments, waiting for encouragement, waiting for recognition. But the truth is, if you never learn how to speak to yourself in a way that uplifts you, it won't matter how much praise you get from others. Their words may inspire you for a moment, but your own words have the power to build or destroy you every single day. What you say internally sets the stage for how you act externally. It dictates your choices, your energy, your resilience, and even your success. Think about it. When you face a setback, the first voice you hear is not from your neighbor, not from your friend, and not from the world. It's your own. That voice decides whether you rise up and fight again or whether you give up and stay down. If that voice tells you, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I don't have what it takes, then you have already lost before the battle even begins. But if that same voice says, this is tough, but I'm tougher, I can learn, I can grow, I can push forward, then you create a different reality. The same circumstances, the same challenges, but a different inner voice, that's what separates success from failure. Too many people live their lives under the weight of other people's opinions. Someone said they weren't smart enough in school, so they carried that label for years. Someone laughed at their dream, so they buried it deep down. Someone criticized their ability, and they allowed those words to define their worth. But here's the thing. No one else's words can determine your destiny unless you let them. The most dangerous critic you will ever face is not out there. It's in here. The way you speak to yourself is either giving life to your potential or suffocating. Every major achievement in this world started with belief, and belief is rooted in the language you use. When inventors, leaders, or dreamers were told they couldn't make it, they didn't let those voices control them. They had already spoken success over their lives. They had already told themselves, I can, I will, I must. That self-talk gave them courage to keep moving, even when the world said no. It is easy to underestimate the power of words, especially the ones we repeat quietly in our own minds. But words shape emotions, emotions shape decisions, and decisions shape destiny. When you repeatedly tell yourself you're not capable, your mind starts filtering opportunities out of your view, making sure reality aligns with your self-talk. On the other hand, when you affirm your worth and abilities, your mind becomes alert, scanning for possibilities, open to growth, and receptive to blessing. This is why it is not enough to just silence negativity from others. You must learn to master your own inner dialogue. You must guard your tongue, not only when speaking to others, but also when speaking to yourself. Every morning when you wake up, your first words are like the first seeds you plant in the soil of your day. If you plant doubt, insecurity, and fear, then that is the crop you will harvest. But if you plant courage, faith, and confidence, then you set yourself up for a harvest of success, peace, and progress. You may not control what others say about you, but you absolutely control what you say about yourself. That control is where your true power lies. The transformation of your life does not start with money, opportunities, or connections. It starts with words. When you change the way you talk to yourself, you change the way you see yourself. And when you change the way you see yourself, you change the way you show up in the world. And the world, in turn, changes the way it responds to you. Replacing negative self-talk with affirmations of strength, worth, and capability is one of the most powerful decisions you will ever make. The reality is that everyone has moments of doubt. Everyone hears that inner critic whispering reasons why they can't succeed. But when those moments come, what you choose to say back determines whether you stay stuck or whether you rise. Negative self-talk is like poison dripping into your mind, weakening you little by little until you start believing lies about yourself. Affirmations, on the other hand, are like medicine. They cleanse the mind, they build the spirit, and they remind you of who you really are. Think about how often people wake up in the morning and immediately tell themselves, I'm tired, I'm broke, I can't do this, I'll never make it. Those words shape the entire day before it even begins. They set a tone of defeat, and that energy follows into every conversation, every decision, and every action. But imagine replacing that same language with words like, I am full of energy. I am capable. I am moving closer to my goals. Even if your situation doesn't change overnight, your perspective does. And that shift in perspective gives you strength to keep pushing. Affirmations are not about denying reality. They are about choosing which reality to feed. If you focus only on the problem, you magnify it. If you focus on your potential, you magnify that instead. Saying, I am strong, doesn't mean you never feel weak, but it means you calling on the strength that already exists within you. Saying, I am worthy doesn't mean you never made mistakes, but it means you refuse to let those mistakes define your future. Saying, I am capable doesn't mean everything will be easy, but it means you trust yourself to figure things out, step by step. Some people may laugh at affirmations, calling them silly or unnecessary, but that's because they don't understand how the mind works. Your subconscious is constantly recording everything you say. It doesn't filter out sarcasm. It doesn't reject repetition. It simply accepts what you feed it. If you constantly tell yourself you are not good enough, your mind begins to build a reality where that is true. But if you repeatedly affirm your value and your ability, your subconscious begins to look for evidence to support that truth. It shifts your thoughts, your behaviors, and eventually your outcome. The words you speak to yourself become the story you live. If you constantly tell yourself you are unlucky, your mind will highlight every setback and blind you to every blessing. If you affirm that you are favored, capable, and destined for more, you will notice opportunities others overlook. Affirmations aren't magic, they are discipline. They are about training your tongue to speak faith instead of fear, possibilities instead of limitations, hope instead of despair. Replacing negative self-talk with affirmations doesn't mean the old voice disappears overnight. At first, you might still hear those doubts, but instead of agreeing with them, you must interrupt them. When a thought says, I can't, you respond with, I can and I will. When a thought says, I'm not good enough, you answer, I am more than enough. I have what it takes. When a thought says, it's impossible, you affirm, with effort and faith all things are possible. The more you practice, the stronger your affirmations become and the weaker that negative voice grows. Your words are like bricks, and every affirmation you speak builds a foundation under your feet. The stronger the foundation, the higher you can climb. Negative self-talk tears down your house before you even step inside. But affirmations build walls of courage, a roof of hope, and windows wide open to possibility. When you learn to replace the negative with the positive, you are not just speaking words, you are creating a life aligned with your strength, your worth, and your capability. Consistency matters. 21 days of positive talk begins rewiring your mindset. The truth about change is that it doesn't happen in a single day, and it doesn't happen because of a single action. Change happens because of repeated effort, repeated focus, and repeated words that slowly but surely reshape the way you think. Most people underestimate the power of repetition. They think if something doesn't shift after a day or two, then it doesn't work. But the mind is like a garden, and you cannot plant one seed and expect a full harvest the next morning. You must keep watering, you must keep nurturing, you must keep speaking life until the results begin to show. And that's why 21 days is so important. It gives your brain time to build a new rhythm, to accept a new voice, and to start replacing old thoughts with new ones. Every day you talk to yourself, whether you realize it or not. Some of that talk is conscious and some of it is subconscious. When you repeat negative words over and over, they become programmed into your mind. The same is true for positive words. When you consistently say, I am capable, I am strong, I am moving forward, your brain begins to accept those words as truth. The more consistent you are, the deeper those beliefs are rooted. At first, it might feel unnatural. You may even feel like you're lying to yourself when you speak affirmations. That's because your brain is still clinging to the old story. But if you keep speaking, if you keep declaring, eventually your mind adjusts. It stops resisting and starts aligning. Consistency builds confidence. Imagine going to the gym only once a month and expecting to see progress. That would never work. But if you go every day or at least several times a week, your body begins to transform. The same principle applies to your mind. Daily positive talk is mental exercise. Each word is like a repetition that strengthens your self-belief, your resilience, and your vision. 21 days may not make you perfect, but it is enough to create momentum. It's enough to start shifting your default thoughts. It's enough to teach your brain that positivity is the new normal. The science of habit formation also proves this point. When you do something consistently for 21 days, it begins to create a pathway in your brain. That pathway grows stronger with each repetition until the behavior becomes natural. Speaking positively to yourself might feel forced at first, but with daily practice, it becomes automatic. And once it becomes automatic, your entire outlook changes. You start waking up dreading the day and start waking up expecting good things. You stop approaching challenges with fear and start approaching them with faith. You stop doubting yourself and start backing yourself with confidence. Another reason consistency matters is because life will test you. During those 21 days, you may face setbacks, disappointments, or challenges that make you question why you're even trying. But the discipline of daily positive talk keeps you grounded. It reminds you that your words have power even when circumstances don't seem to agree. That discipline builds inner strength. It teaches you that you don't have to be controlled by emotions or by what's happening around you. You can still choose what you say, and what you say shapes how you respond. The key is not perfection, but persistence. If you miss a day, don't quit. If your old negative voice creeps in, don't surrender. Keep going. Speak again. Affirm again. Declare again. Because consistency is not about never failing, it's about refusing to stop. The more you practice, the more you realize that the words you speak are not just noise, they are programming your future. 21 days of consistent positive talk is not the finish line, but it is the start of a new chapter. It is proof that with time, discipline, and repetition, your entire mindset can be rewired to serve you instead of sabotage you. Words are seeds. What you declare today becomes the reality of tomorrow. Every word you speak is like planting something in the soil of your life. Some people don't realize this and speak carelessly, throwing out negative statements without understanding the harvest that will come later. But the truth is, words don't disappear into thin air. They take root in your heart and mind, and over time, they produce outcomes that align with what you've spoken. If you constantly declare defeat, struggle, and lack, You plant seeds that will grow into those very things. But when you declare faith, strength, and abundance, you are planting seeds that will eventually grow into opportunities, breakthroughs, and blessings. Think of a farmer. He doesn't plant seeds today and expect fruit tomorrow. He knows it takes time, patience, and care. The same principle applies to your words. If you want to see a life full of hope, confidence, and success, you must start planting those words every day. At first, you may not see anything happening. That's how it always looks in the beginning. But under the surface, things are changing. The soil is moving, roots are forming, and life is developing where your eyes cannot see. It's the same with your declarations. When you speak positively, even if circumstances don't shift instantly, something inside of you begins to move. Your thoughts, your attitude, and your perspective begin to align with what you've spoken. Words are powerful because they don't just shape your feelings, they shape your actions. When you declare, I am strong, you start acting with more strength. When you declare, I am capable, you approach challenges with courage. When you declare good things are coming my way, you position yourself to notice opportunities you might have missed before. Those declarations plant seeds not just in your own mind, but in the atmosphere around you. People respond to your confidence. Doors open when you carry expectation, and situations shift when you walk in faith. Negative declarations work the same way, just in the opposite direction. When you keep saying, I'll never get ahead, nothing ever works for me, I'm just unlucky, you begin to act in ways that match those words. You don't push as hard, you don't notice opportunities, and you prepare yourself for failure instead of success. Before long, your words have created the very reality you feared. That's why it is so important to treat your words as carefully as a farmer treats his seed. You can't plant weeds and expect wheat. You can't plant bitterness and expect joy. You can't plant doubt and expect victory. The seeds of your words also affect the people around you. When you speak life into yourself, others are inspired to do the same. Your positive declarations can lift up your children, your friends, your co-workers, and even strangers who hear you. But if all you speak is negativity, that energy spreads as well. Just as one seed can multiply into a field of crops, one repeated phrase can multiply into a lifestyle. The incredible part is that you have the power to choose your seeds. Every day you wake up with the ability to declare something new. You can break old cycles of negativity by deciding to speak differently. Even if you've planted weeds for years, you can start planting good seeds today. It may take time for the new harvest to grow, but if you stay faithful, the future will look different from the past. Words may seem small in the moment, but they carry power, and their harvest is inevitable. When you declare strength, gratitude, and purpose, you're not just making noise. You're shaping your tomorrow one seed at a time. Faith and gratitude spoken daily attract opportunities and growth. When you start your day with words of faith, you're declaring that something good is waiting for you ahead, even if you don't see it yet. Faith is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing to focus on possibilities that are bigger than your current situation. Gratitude, on the other hand, is about recognizing what you already have, no matter how small, and valuing it enough to give it your attention. When you combine these two, faith and gratitude, in your daily self-talk, you create an atmosphere around your life that pulls more good things toward you. Faith shapes your vision. If you keep telling yourself nothing ever works out for me, your eyes will be blind to opportunities. And even when something good comes your way, you won't recognize it. But if you affirm, I believe doors are opening, I believe my hard work is paying off, I believe I'm being guided toward better things, You train your mind to search for those outcomes. And what you search for, you eventually find. It's not magic, it's focus. The brain filters information based on what it believes is important. And when you feed it faith, it prioritizes opportunities over obstacles. Gratitude is just as powerful because it multiplies whatever you focus on. If you wake up complaining, the day will only give you more reason to complain. But if you wake up saying, thank you for this day, thank you for the strength I have, thank you for even the small progress I'm making, you shift your perspective. Suddenly you notice things that used to go unseen, small victories, unexpected kindness, hidden blessing. The more you notice, the more you appreciate, and the more room you make for growth. Gratitude doesn't deny that challenges exist. It simply refuses to let them overshadow the good. When you speak gratitude out loud, you're not just reminding yourself of what you have, you're also positioning yourself for more. Imagine giving a gift to someone who constantly complains it isn't enough. Chances are you'd hesitate to give them more. But when someone receives even the smallest gift with appreciation, you're inspired to bless them again. Life works the same way. Gratitude signals that you value what you've been given, and it attracts more abundance in return. Faith and gratitude together create momentum. Faith pushes you to keep moving forward even when the path looks uncertain. Gratitude keeps you grounded so you don't lose sight of what's already working in your favor. One keeps your eyes on the future, the other keeps your heart anchored in the present. Both are necessary for growth because growth requires vision and stability at the same time. Without faith, you'll settle where you are. Without gratitude, you already have, but when you speak both daily, you create balance, hope for tomorrow, and appreciation for today. Speaking faith and gratitude also changes how others perceive you. People are drawn to those who carry a positive, hopeful energy. Opportunities often come through connections. And when you are a person who consistently speaks with belief and thankfulness, others are more likely to open doors for you, support you, or invite you into spaces where growth is possible. On the other hand, constant negativity repels help because few people want to invest in someone who has already decided they're defeated. The key is to make it a habit. Don't just speak faith and gratitude when things are going well. Speak them even when times are hard. In fact, that's when they matter most. Saying I'm thankful when life is easy requires little effort. Saying I'm thankful when life feels heavy is a declaration of strength. Saying I believe in a better future when you can't yet see it is an act of power. These daily declarations reshape your inner world until eventually your outer world begins to reflect the seeds of faith and gratitude you've been planting all along. A disciplined tongue leads to a transformed life full of confidence and open doors. The words you speak are not random sounds. They are instruments of power that set the direction of your future. When you discipline your tongue, you learn to control the words that leave your mouth and the words you repeat in your mind. That discipline is the bridge between who you are today and who you want to become tomorrow. Many people underestimate how their language influences their lives. They believe their problems are external, money, relationships, opportunities. But in reality, many of those problems are fueled by careless words and unchecked self-talk. If you can master what you say, you can master how you live. Discipline with your tongue doesn't mean you never feel fear, anger, or doubt. It means you refuse to let those emotions speak louder than your faith and purpose. It means when discouragement comes, you don't allow it to spill out of your mouth and create more discouragement. Instead, you respond with words that build you up rather than tear you down. For example, When something doesn't go your way, instead of saying, I'll never succeed, a disciplined tongue says, this is a setback, but it is not the end. That one choice of language changes how you handle the situation. One statement breeds hopelessness, the other breeds determination. The difference lies in discipline. Confidence comes directly from the way you talk to yourself. No one can hear your internal dialogue except you, but that dialogue shapes the energy you carry into the world. If your words are disciplined, filled with strength and belief, people feel that energy the moment you walk into a room. They can sense when someone believes in themselves. And that confidence opens doors. Opportunities are often given to those who act like they can handle them. And that confidence is cultivated first through disciplined speech. On the other hand, if you allow your tongue to run wild with doubt and negativity, it shows up in your posture, your tone, and your choices, shutting doors before they even have a chance to open. A disciplined tongue also builds trust. When people hear you consistently speak positively, with clarity and conviction, they begin to trust your words. They know you mean what you say, and they respect the consistency. This trust attracts relationships, business opportunities, and partnerships that might otherwise pass you by. But if your tongue is careless, constantly negative, complaining, or contradicting itself, people are less likely to align with you. They may distance themselves because words are energy, and nobody wants to carry extra weight from someone who speaks defeat all the time. Discipline requires awareness. It requires catching yourself in moments when negativity tries to slip out. At first, it may feel exhausting to monitor your words, but just like any practice, it becomes natural over time. The more you practice speaking with purpose, the more your tongue becomes trained to align with your goals. Eventually, you won't even have to think about it. Positive, confident words will flow naturally because they have become your default language. When you think these languages, you are manifesting positively. The life you want to live will demand a new level of self-mastery, and that begins with mastering your tongue. Think about every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every person who has inspired change. They didn't get there by allowing their words to scatter aimlessly. They disciplined their speech. They used language to build vision, and they understood that their words carried weight. You have that same power. By disciplining your tongue, you change your mindset. By changing your mindset, you change your behavior. And by changing your behavior, you change your future.
Yeah.